The trouble, of course, is that you can't focus on both the action and the context at the same time.
And then she even
Hence
emphasizes
the weird...
it. Then she even emphasizes it like, this is so meaningful. Look at what I've discovered for you. The interesting thing is, you can't look at the context and the behavior at the same time. Even though you do. You totally do.
Of course you do. Not only do you do, but everyone does it intuitively. You don't even have to be taught to do this.
Well, and you're kind of forced to. Like, you can't make a judgment on the Kyle Rittenhouse behavior. You're like, okay, no context. I mean, you got to give me the context for me to even judge the behavior. It's incomplete without the context.
This is incoherent.
All behavior is incomplete without the context, right?
Yes, of course.
Yes. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. You can't distinguish, like, even like you can't even have conversations about anything without having context.
If you're an alien who say on your planet all liquids are forms of life. Okay.
Oh wow.
And so you see you see a person drinking a glass of water, and you're like, oh my God,
murderer.
This person is murdering all this. He's just fucking eating all this life. These horrible creatures are killing all these poor innocent liquid water.
Holocaust planet.
Right. Look at this Holocaust. Look, they literally use water to pee and poop in, these monsters.
I know. Oh my.
These despicable creatures. It's like, obviously you have to interpret context and action at the same time. What does that even mean?
Yeah. What is the emphasis there too? What the fuck?
I don't even know why she's bringing this up.
Almost hypocrisy that we started with. To the Jacobins, the violence of the French Revolution was justified in the context of what came before. But understandably, that came as little comfort to Louis XVI, who still ended up contextually dead.
But that has nothing to do with interpreting context and action at the same time. All you're saying is that different people have different contexts of how they interpret the same action, which is a completely different statement.
Yes, yeah. Which you can fit the Kyle Rittenhouse thing into, because some people thought the context was he shot innocent Black Lives Matter supporters.
Right.
Right, yeah.
The $1 million question is, how do we separate the violence that we care about from the violence that we are willing to accept or believe to be inevitable?
How do we separate the violence? Oh, okay. What she means, she worded it very strangely. She means, how do we separate good violence from bad violence? Essentially. Okay.
Right.
Nice.
Self-defense from murder. I mean,
we've gone 34 minutes into this fucking video, and I guess that's the thesis of the video. How do we separate good violence from bad violence? And I don't think anything that has been set up in this point has helped us illuminate that question.
Yeah.
At all.
Well, there is self-defense versus murder.
Sure, but that's an easy one.
Right, but I mean, I would argue that that's the basis for the entire separation of good violence and bad violence.
Yeah, you could be right. Everything could be built from that foundation. Yeah.
Or you could trace everything back to that foundation.
Right.
Yeah. Well, they even the thing about calling everything violence, obviously you're doing that to put yourself in the role of self-defense. You're like, you've already committed violence.
Right. So it justifies me attacking you.
Right. In self-defense.
I'm acting in self-defense.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's so weird because none of that is like her context is state sanctioned violence, bad, rando acts of violence, good. What? In what universe does that? What philosopher endorsed that aside from some just crazy leftist?
That guy she cited
French
from 1920s Germany.
Yeah. Okay. Fascinating.
And
that gets for me a fascinating. That's what it gets for me. What's really fascinating is code for you're full of shit.
Fascinating.
You're fucking full of shit.
Fascinating.
Kind of what politics is for.
What a politics.
Wow.
Politics is
Oh.
about dividing resources. That's what politics is for.
Yeah, but I mean that's
Dumb
true.
shit.
Part of politics is determining what is good force or good violence versus bad violence. But it's like, okay, like, could we have skipped 34 minutes for you to just tell us this in the beginning of the video? Something that everyone should probably already know.
But then you wouldn't have the Jordan Peterson callback section, which I don't.
The anti-fire brigade.
This might have worked, okay? I might actually sign up on the Patreon just so I can ask, what the fuck was this section for? Look, I'm under the impression this section was just so you could show a low-cut blouse. Am I right about that? Because what you're saying doesn't make any sense here.
When the German police took back the Garsweiler mine, most of the people involved escaped. A few hundred were arrested and then had to be released because they refused to speak to the cops and just clogged up the bureaucracy. There were some charges made, but as far as I can find, nobody was ever convicted of anything. The mine was owned at the time.
Oh, this terrible authoritarian police state. They went in and they dispersed 1,000 protesters and
Shoot them out.
didn't charge anybody with anything.
Yeah.
How terrible. This authoritarian fascist police state that we're living under. Oh no.
The most humanitarian form of pest removal ever.
Oh God. They literally occupy a building for 48 hours that
Right.
it's someone else's property and no one gets in fucking
Go
trouble.
home. Get a job.
Get out of here, you hippies.
And
Get a haircut.
It better not be as a YouTuber.
Yeah. Get a real job.
By a company called Vattenfall, who were themselves owned by the Swedish government, who were Social Democrats and Greens. So clever choice of target, kinda hard for them to ignore that context. Sadly, rather than shut it down, they sold it to a collection of fossil capitalists from the Czech Republic, and it is still in operation.
Sitch! Oh my God. Their divine violence was a total failure. Why did they call it divine?
Yeah, right. You're right. If only they could have shut down that coal plant and made Germany more reliant on Russian oil. Think of how much better off they'd be.
Yeah. I'm curious how, I mean, because the Ukrainian government is committing violence against the Russian government.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like mythical on mythical violence?
Mythic on mythic violence. Oh my God.
I guess it is, yeah. Okay.
Classic. Well, and it's kind of funny because
Totally useless, but
so you had a bunch of environmentalists. They come to a coal plant, which turns out to be owned, which is very bizarre. I don't understand how fucking crazy. I don't understand you weird Europeans. You have a coal plant in Germany's owned by the Swedish government, but a specific party in the Swedish government or something. That's the Green Party.
yeah, that is weird.
So I don't understand how any of that works. But it's kind of funny because you say, okay, wouldn't you rather the coal plant be owned by
You're right.
the Green Party, which you could pressure to, they shouldn't have the coal plant, but you could pressure to make, still eco-friendly choices as possible for a coal plant.
Yeah.
But instead, your protesting ends up getting them to just sell it off to some private person who doesn't give a fuck about your environmental concerns whatsoever.
Maybe that's she's making the argument. I think she's trying to make the argument that they're being hypocritical because the Green Party owns a coal plant.
But I'm saying,
oh yeah,
if
no,
you're
I
going
agree
to
with
think
you.
about it pragmatically, it would
Right.
be better to have the environmentalists own the coal plant.
So here's my narrative, since we don't have the context, and we need the context. Context and behavior definitely go hand in hand. I'm thinking that the Swedish Greens bought the coal plant because they thought, we are going to make this coal plant clean. This coal plant is a dirty polluter and we're going to clean it up. And they bought it and then they realized, oh shit, you can't clean this fucking bitch up. This thing is like dirty as fuck. So they were like, oh shit. Mission failure. Let's dump this thing.
I'm assuming that probably what she meant, or maybe she said it and I just didn't hear her, is that the Swedish government probably owns the coal plant. And at the time, the Swedish government was controlled by the Green Party.
Oh, okay. There you go.
I'm assuming that would make a little bit more sense. But
how many coal plants do we own in other countries? I'm wondering.
That's still weird to me. Yeah.
Trump coal.
Does like the U.S. I mean, maybe it does. I don't know. Does the U.S. government own coal plants or, gas gas oil fields in other countries?
No, our corporations do though.
I guess maybe that's it. Sweden has like nationalized.
I mean, are they really our corporations? They're headquartered in the U.S., but are they? Anyway,
they claim they're not because they don't want to pay taxes.
We're not going to get philosophy.
They're really really a Bahamian corporation. Okay.
Let's not talk too much about capitalism. We're going to get in big trouble with when Philosophy Tube watches us, which is definitely not going to happen. I feel safe doing these videos about Philosophy Tube because I'm actually glad that she doesn't watch response videos.
She should.
Why? Then she'd improve and we'd run out of content. She's doing us a favor.
Ah!
What happened?
Fuck you. I killed a mosquito.
Oh.
It was bloody. It just bit me.
Shit.
See, look. It's very...
You're missing the whole David Lynch part of the...
Listen, it's very symbolic. I just killed the blood-sucking parasite while we're watching this fucking video.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Totally. I feel you.
Yep.
Mosquitoes are kind of cool, aren't they?
No, what the fuck?
Everyone hates mosquitoes.
Everyone fucking mosquitoes suck.
Time of record collection of fossil capitalists from the Czech Republic, and it is still in operation.
It's still in operation.
At time of recording.
Oh. Okay, you've won me over, Sitch.
So
this is the worst acting I've ever seen in my entire life.
But okay. Is she advocating for people to go destroy this coal plant? Because that's how I interpret that weird reading of what she just said.
That weird, super long pause.
Yeah,
that's a call to action, right?
Yeah. What is that? What else is that? How else could you interpret that other than she wants you to destroy the coal plant?
Yeah. No. No. I think
because you would say, oh, this coal plant's still operational, not as at pause time of reading.
Yeah.
Let me give you a knowing look with a raised eyebrow, like. Listen, I'm Immanuel Kant, okay? I'm the philosopher king on my devoir. You rabble need to go and, French Revolution that thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I feel like a secret agent that's just been activated.
Yes.
I'm like ready to go.
This is some stochastic
Project Coal Plant in effect. I got you. I hear you loud and clear, hon. We're heading down there.